Hi, this is Alex Anist, and I think this will be the last video in my series on color tone chords and shell voicings. So, quick review. Step 0, you have to know the names of the notes on the low E and A strings, right? So you have to know where you are going to go. So if I need to find a D flat, I need to be able to find it right away. Step 1 and 2 and 3, we're basically building shell voicings off of those roots. So let's take that D flat. If the root is on the low E string, we have the root, and then we skip the A string, and we put our 7th, flat 7th in this case, on the D string, and we put our 3rd on the G string. The 3rd and 7th get reversed if our root is on the A string. So root, 3rd, 7th. All right, so root, 7, 3rd, root, 3rd, 7th. Okay. On the B string, we added 1 color tone. So if the root is on the low E string, root 7, 3rd, and then either a 13, flat 13, or sharp 5, 5, which is not a color tone, but just a chord tone, flat 5 or sharp 11, or an 11, usually used in a minor chord. Not always. If the root is on the A string, we put a 9 on the B string, or a sharp 9, or a flat 9, or a root if we feel like it. Okay, so that covers everything that we've done up to this point. Quick aside before we move on to the high E string, you can replace the root on the bottom with the 5th, right? So like if I want to go C7, let's say I want to go C7, F7, B flat 7, right? Well, I can go C7, F7, but leave the 5th on the bottom, and then B flat 7. Or I can go C7 with the 5 instead of the root, F7, B flat 7. Okay. So now moving on to adding the second color tone. So let's go back to this C chord. Let's say I have a chord and it's like let's say it says C13 sharp 11, right? C13 sharp 11 is a big chord. Root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, sharp 11th, 13. I already know I'm not going to play the root, okay? You got to be able to make these chords in the right spot in relation to where the root is on the low E or A string without actually playing the root. Okay, so I see this C here. I'm not going to play it. Flat 7, 3rd. I'll put my 13 there, and I'm going to put the 9 on this string. Okay, so that's a C13 with a 9, no sharp 11, or I could put the sharp 11 on this string. Okay? On the high E string, you're adding a 9. All right, so some examples. 7th, 3rd, sharp 5, flat 9. Okay, that's a C7 with a sharp 5 and a flat 9. C7 with a sharp 9 and a 13. Okay, that's a fun one. C minor 6. If it's a minor 6, I'm not really going to add a 13 on the B string because I have a 6 on the D string with a 9 on top. So there's a C minor 6, 9. Right? Major 7 with a 13 and a 9. Okay, the possibilities are endless. I don't know, sus, flat 9. That's one that you see sometimes. Kind of cool. Minor major 13 with a sharp, nope, pardon me, minor major 7 with a 13 and a 9. You know, it's really hard to play this with the root. There we go. Again, I would not play the root. I would just like almost never do that. Okay. There's just so much you can do here. So many combinations. And it's still just the beginning of like, you know, coming up with interesting harmonies. I'm just going to admit something. Please don't tell my guitar teachers, but like I personally do not like to play 4 notes at once on the guitar. Like my brain gets broken at 3 notes anyways. So I rarely use 4-note chords. Oftentimes if I'm if I'm playing like if it was a C9 up here with a 13, I might use that chord, but you know, I tend to do like, I try to do stuff with just 3 notes. I might just do these 3 notes, no 7th, you know, or something like that. But the G, B, and D strings are like my bread and butter probably most of the time. That was looking with the root on the 6th string, right? So root, 7th, 3rd, 11th or 5th or 13th, root or 9th. If the root's on the 5th string, root, 3rd, 7th, we put the 9th on this string and we can put the sharp 11 or the 5 or the 11 or the sharp 5 or the 13 on the high E string. So basically everything switches, right? It's either 7th and 3rd, 11th or 13th, 9th, or it's 3rd, 7th, 9th, 11th to 13th, all right? So if I want to do the same chord, let's say it's a C, let's do that C9 with a 13. So I could do it here, like that. Same chord. All right. That's useful because every chord is near you, right? There's not like a faraway chord. Everything is within a few frets. You know, like if I wanted to do just with color tone chords, like say giant steps, right? So just those chords, right? I could do like a B major 9 with a 13, and you know, I could do like maybe a D7 altered if I wanted to. And that's going to go to like a G major 9 with a 13. Maybe like a B flat altered to an E flat. So let's see if I can remember what I did. I love these fourths voicings that you get, so. So if I didn't want to alter the dominant chords because the chord progression is already moving through 3 different keys, I could do something like B13 to D13 to G13 to B flat 13, sharp 11. So B flat 9, sharp 11. E flat 6, 9. Okay, another way to look at this is where you're looking at what are your possibilities on each string, right? So, or for each chord tone. So for the seventh, well, I'm sorry, for the third, you can have a flat 3 or a 3, a sus4, or like maybe a sus2, right? So I could do, if my root is C, my third could be any of those 4 notes, right? And with the seventh, you could have a major 7, a minor 7, or a 6. So if my root is C, I have any of those possibilities. For the 9, the string that you're going to play the 9 on, you have the root. There's times when you might want to put the root in there. Like if you don't want to put a 9th in at all for some reason, but you want to play something on that string, you can put the root there. So the root, the flat 9, the sharp 9. Oh, and the 9, which is in between the flat and sharp 9, right? So again, not the third, right? Because the third's already covered. All right. And then for the 11 or 13, you have the 11, sharp 11, the 5, sharp 5, or the 13. So, all right, so with a C root, those are my options. And you really need to kind of think about voice leading, explore what you want to do with these. So in the last video, I was looking at this part of Ekaro where it's like a 2-5 situation with 9s and sharp 11s, right? So that's a great spot to do, you could do minor 9. And then we could do like the sharp 11 and keep the 9, right? So that top note stays the same, okay? And then we're going down by half step. And then we resolve to a major 9. Could put a 13 on top there, but that top note doesn't move a lot. So maybe there's something else we could do there, like, I don't know, we could do minor 9, G minor 9, to a C7. We could alter it like this, right? And that's a C7 with a sharp 5 and a sharp 9. And then we come down to this F sharp, and that's F sharp minor 9, and then we can do the same thing here. And then we can get to this. I kind of like that. So we have this, but I still don't love that enough. I think I like that line better. So instead of ending on a major 9 with a 13, I'm just ending on a very simple 6-9 chord, or it could be major 9. And the reason I put the 5th on top is because I like this melodic idea here. I like the sound of things moving down by a minor 3rd, actually. Like, that's just a thing I like. And there's a major 9 instead of a major 6-9, right? One last thing, a lot of these chords can be other chords, okay? Specifically, I'm probably about to prove myself wrong here, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say any dominant 7th chord that you come up with could also be some sort of it could be another dominant seventh chord a tritone away. It could also usually be some kind of minor sixth chord. And it can often be a dominant seventh chord a minor third away. So let's just take, for example, here's a voicing that I have always thought of as like a B7 sharp 9. Okay. Well, it could also be an F7 flat 9 with a 13. Okay. But Wes Montgomery, I have transcribed some Wes Montgomery when he's using this chord as a D7, okay? It's a D7. The bass player is playing a D, and if you think about it, you have the fifth, the flat 9, the third, and the root. So it's a cool way to put the root on top without having like a kind of, you know, typical chord voicing like a lot of people would use, you know, that or that with the root on top, or even just straight up D7. So there's no flat 7 in that chord. You could put one in, and then you have that kind of chord. Okay, so again, once you start using these chords without the root, you can really start moving things around. So this doesn't fit into this system that I've been working with in these videos, but doing this might inspire you to do this, right? Or you could even put the 13 in, right? So now that's like, if the root is D, ooh, it's a D13 flat 9. It's a B major triad with a D on top, but right now it's a D13. Okay, that same shape, sorry, going back to this shape, it could be an F sharp minor 6. Told you I might prove myself wrong. I don't think I'd use this for an F sharp minor 6. I would use this for an F sharp minor 6, right? It could be a C diminished. Love this for a C diminished. And in fact, a lot of times in tunes, there's a diminished chord and the melody note. So if you know anything about diminished chords, you know they're symmetrical, right? All right, everything's a minor third. But it's very common if you look at the melody, which you should always be doing when you're learning tunes, because the melody is the tune, right? If you're looking at the melody, it's very common for a chord to be diminished, but the melody note to be a note that's a whole step above one of the chord tones. So this would be great, you know, if we're looking at like, if we're looking at body and soul. Right here. This is an E diminished chord with a C in the melody. Okay? So that voicing would be great right there. Okay? As a possibility. So the chords there, right in that spot, are, it says it's an F minor 7 to an E diminished, right? Well, F minor 7 is a 3 chord. In standard tunes, the 3 chord is usually a substitution for 1, and the melody has this D flat in it. So I kind of think of this chord as a first inversion of a 1 chord. I love to use these fourths voicings. So, right? So if we're looking at this as F minor 7, this is the 5th root 11 7, 4th 7, 3rd. It's the sharp 5, but really it's the root of a D flat chord, right? if we're looking at this as a D flat chord, which is what it really is, a D flat with an F in the bass, then this is like a major 13 with a 9, and this is like a 6-9. Both of these actually fit in this system that we've been talking about. There's no third in that one. There's a 2 instead. And then we get to this diminished chord, E diminished, right? Well, here's an E diminished. There's the melody note. All right, so this voicing, I started it out up here. It could be a D7, flat 9. It could be an F sharp diminished or an A diminished, etc. It could be an F7, flat 9 with a 13. Okay, any dominant chord you make is going to be a different dominant chord as well. So just really think about voice leading when you're using these chords. One last thing we can do is kind of look at these shapes and think about how we might take them through a scale. So, you know, this is also a spot where my tendency to use only 3-note chords, I feel like comes in handy. So like yesterday I did this major 13, major 7 with a sharp 11, and I took it through a Lydian scale. So I'll add the 9, right, and try to take this through the Lydian scale. So I go up. That would be the next chord, right? And the next chord would be you know what, I'm going to drop this down to a G so we can kind of hear this. I think there's some cool sounds in there, you know, and it's funny, I feel like I'm moving really slowly through this, but, you know, that's where practicing this kind of stuff comes in handy, right? If I wanted to be able to move through these chords more quickly, then I would need to practice that. But all of this stuff sounds good as a potential major 13, sharp 11, and my way of playing, I would tend to only use 3 notes, you know, so I would be like here, right? There's my mistake. And all it is the structure is a 3rd and a 5th. No, I screwed up somewhere. It started as a 2nd and a 5th, and it ended up as a 3rd and a 5th. So, no, it's a 2nd and a 6th, right? That's the right answer to that. A 2nd and a 6th. 2nd and a 6th. Right? That's a great sound. Whoops, I'm in drop D, drop G. Yeah, so there you go. Now this video is truly long. It's probably my longest video. If you've made it to the end, thank you for indulging me. This is like really interesting stuff, and the color tone chords can be kind of a gateway to like other less standard forms of harmony, right? So, all right. Good luck with all that.